Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. The international market for unmanned air vehicles, or UAVs, is experiencing something of a boom internationally. We are joined by Engineering News Senior Contributing Editor Keith Campbell, who studied the evolution of the industry and South Africa's competitiveness in this expanding market. Keith, welcome to the show. Before we look at the growing market, what is a UAV?
Well, UAV, unmanned air vehicle, previously known as an RPV, remotely piloted vehicle, before that known as a drone. Basically an aircraft which does not have any human crew on board, although it may be piloted by a person on the ground. The reason they changed the designation from RPV to UAV was that the aircraft began to develop increasing ability to fly autonomously, and often we now have a situation where a UAV takes off on its own, flies to the area of interest on its own, and the ground-based pilot only takes over once the aircraft has reached its area of operation. They are military systems used for surveillance and intelligence gathering, and now increasingly as weapons platforms, a subcategory known as unmanned combat air vehicles to attack targets with missiles and precision-guided bombs.
What are the reasons behind the dynamic growth in the international UAV market?
To put it bluntly, war. The war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, the ongoing Arab-Israeli wars. A lesser contributing factor has been the experiences of several countries in peacekeeping operations where there has been very little conflict, but where they have discovered a real need and benefit for UAVs. And the third element is that those countries not involved in war, those countries not involved in peacekeeping operations, but wishing to maintain modern defense capabilities, realize that they've got to emulate the leaders in the field and develop their own UAV capabilities. Also, although UAVs are not cheap, they are often cheaper than the crude alternatives.
South Africa has quite an extensive pedigree in the development of UAVs. Can you take us through that history?
Well, South Africa actually today has two companies involved in UAVs. Denel Dynamics, part of the state-owned Denel Defence Industrial Group, and the private sector company Advanced Technologies and Engineering, or ATE. Now, South Africa's experience in UAVs goes back to the 1980s, when UAVs were internationally very, very neglected. UAV history is much longer than people think, but it's been a history of ups and downs. For example, in the 1960s, the Americans were the world leaders because of the war in Vietnam. With the end of that war, they effectively abandoned their entire UAV program, and Israel then became the world leader. South Africa followed Israel, and the country developed the Seeker. It was developed by the company that's now called Denel Dynamics as a surveillance UAV. This was in the mid-1980s. In the year 2000, Denel unveiled a much improved version, the Seeker 2, which was never ordered by South Africa, but was successfully exported and is in service abroad. ATE developed the Vulture unmanned air vehicle for the South African Army. This is now entering service with the South African Army. And Denel have announced a further upgrade to the Seeker 400. However, again, this is dependent on winning a foreign order. They're very optimistic that they will be able to conclude such an order. ATE has also launched its mini UAV, the Kivit, which again has just won an export order but has not been bought by South Africa.
Do you believe South Africa is in danger of losing its relative leadership position in the UAV market?
South Africa has already lost its relative leadership position. There has been incredible investment in UAVs, most obviously in the United States, but the British are putting huge amounts of money into the sector. In just over 3 years from 2003, BAE Systems designed, developed and flew 5 different UAV designs. The cutting-edge designs now under development in the United States, United Kingdom are autonomous, stealth, blended wing body, unmanned combat air vehicles with high degrees of autonomy. The Americans developed the X-45 and the X-47. The X-45 was just a research project, but the X-47 could very well lead to an operational aircraft. The British have got what they call the Tyrannus project. But lots of other countries are pouring into UAVs. The Israelis continue to put lots of money into UAVs. Japan, South Korea, Singapore have all announced UAV projects. Many countries see UAVs as a niche in which they can establish credible aerospace industries. Indeed, it's not a niche, it's multiple niches. You have a range from very large, incredibly expensive strategic UAVs right down to what they're calling nano UAVs, which I could hold in the palms of my hand and are launched by throwing into the air. And South Africa is pretty much in danger of losing out.
Keith, thank you very much, and thanks for joining us on Second Take. That's your show for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis.